Welcome to our house. Roxanne
and Karmisha.
We in the house.
That's right.
Chopping it up.
That's right.
It's your girl Foxy Roxy. And my girl Karmisha.
That's right.
Superville. Guys, you got this? It's the Superville, okay?
Superman.
Superwoman in the
Hey.
house. Woo!
Guys, welcome back. How is everyone doing? Listen, we really want to thank you guys for tuning in and liking our content. We really want to just start off this episode by just our gratitude and expressing how thankful we are.
Yes,
right, Roxanne?
definitely. We see all the interesting comments you guys post, the questions, the suggestions. We love it. Keep them coming in. It's definitely going to give us some direction as to what you guys are looking forward to hearing and, simply what you guys are expecting from us.
So we just want to welcome you guys back to the Chop It Up with R&K podcast. We are super stoked with this amazing episode. Another good episode, guys. Another banger. This one is about something that we both love and something that what has united us both in terms of entrepreneurship, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Boss babes in effect.
That's it. And so you guys know 2021 is all about leveling up. We spoke about fitness. We spoke about wellness. Let's speak about career. We know February is Black History Month. So we said we wanted to kick it off in a Black-owned establishment.
So we're here at M3 Salon in the good old Brooklyn, New York. This business has been around for quite some time. I actually know the owner. He's my brother.
Oh, gosh. Here goes the favoritism.
Now, I just wanted to actually, capitalize on the fact that, you want to keep it in the family. One, you want to keep it in the family and just basically pinpointing or tapping into the fact that this is one of the establishments that's been around for quite some time. Because 9 times out of 10, Karmisha, Black businesses, they come on the scene and they don't do well because they don't have people supporting the business.
Yes.
Right? And so the business winds up closing down, and that's definitely one of the things that I've seen, being in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
When I drive up and down the street in Black community, that's definitely one of the things that I've seen, being in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
When I drive up and down the street in Black communities, you see a lot of the Black establishments closed down. Why? Either we don't know that the establishment exists, we don't know what they do, and we simply don't support it because, for whatever reason. Right? So I try to always give some notoriety and publicize those different, venues for that, right? For that purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was watching, you guys know I'm the statistic queen now.
Yes.
So I was listening, well, actually I was watching Shark Tank the other night, and it spoke about how Black-owned businesses, especially woman-owned businesses, that are thriving at such a high rate. Yet, access to equity is something that, that we struggle with.
Right.
And so I think it's really good that you spoke about, keeping something in your family, such as your brother's business, and keeping that legacy alive, because we do have to support each other.
Yes.
And it cannot just be for fashion, right?
No.
It cannot just be for a hashtag. We have to intentionally support businesses, people that look like us, and businesses that's producing quality as well.
Right. I mean, as the first generation, born here in the United States, you understand, you want to be able to leave a legacy, because it's not something that we, were actually taught. We're from Caribbean descent, and though, it's known that people from the Caribbean have 10 jobs, right? And we own everything, right? 9 times out of 10, they don't necessarily leave legacies, right? So it's definitely important that we understand the relationship between creating wealth, right, leaving a legacy, and as you mentioned, equity, right? Because if you don't own anything, then where do you go? You'll always be in a consumerism stance, right? And we're trying to break the mold, right, of being a consumer and supporting other businesses and not supporting our own. Because when you look at statistics, Ms. Queen, right, we hear that African Americans are the greatest consumers, yet we don't own a whole lot.
Yes.
Okay, so we definitely want to tap into that and be able to support, leave legacies, different things like that. I know my brother isn't here. I hope he does come by so we can actually, get a spin from him or get a take on what his contribution to his legacy feels like, right? Because it's going to vary from people to people.
Absolutely.
Right? So I know this is possibly your community, right? You're in this area
Well, what I would say is this is like, as you guys know, we are in the New York City area, and Brooklyn to be exact.
Yes.
And so what I've known, hey Brooklyn, what I've noticed, which is really good, is that though there have been a lot of gentrification
Yes.
over the years taking place within our community, especially within inner city communities such as these, the Crown Heights and the Bed-Stuy and so forth. What I have noticed is that a lot of black-owned businesses, they are still thriving.
Yes.
There are much more black-owned businesses, and they're stepping up their game.
Yes.
You know, they're stepping up the game. So I think that's very, very imperative. From my experience, I always shop where, you know, there's a story, there's a mission, there's a cause behind it. So I'm definitely want to support my own. But we're in a barbershop, in a salon. And beauty salons are definitely known within our community. Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think beauty salons is like a staple in our community? Why do you
Because
think?
we're always concerned with our appearance. You know, how you look, how you present is how you typically can feel.
Yes.
So I think it's a mainstay because there's a saying that I heard: we buy things that we don't necessarily need. But you know, like we talked about the story.
Yes.
It's always a story behind what you do, what you purchase, where you purchase, etc. And some of the things we buy it because it makes us feel a particular way.
Yes.
You understand? So I feel as if, you know, it's always been a mainstay. It's been who we are. And if you know, we're in Black History Month, right?
Yes.
And if you do your research, you know, corn braids and cornrows and things like that, you realize there was a message in those cornrows, right?
Yes.
They were basically, when I read this, the history of corn braids or cornrows, right? They were actually outlining paths to get away from their slave masters.
Didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow.
Right? Because, you know, their hair type is different from ours, right? So when you talk about braided in these intricate manners, right? Could you imagine that was like a map to your escape to your freedom?
Wow.
You know, even back then, we had this desire to be free, and we found ways to actually make some things happen without, you know, without it being known by the slave owner.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
So I just think it stemmed from there, and you know, the texture of our hair, you can just do so many different things with it. So I just think it's always, you know, a staple, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
You know, think about Madam C.J. Walker and her beginning.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Did you see the movie?
I haven't seen the movie yet.
No.
I'm guilty of that.
Oh
I'm
my
guilty.
goodness!
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
You know, my daughters put me on set, and I'm telling you, it started in the salon with hair care.
Yes.
Okay, but there are a number of different businesses, and I know I just want to dovetail back to you mentioning gentrification in particular areas of Crown Heights, and the fact that some businesses are thriving. Yes, some businesses are thriving, and it could be twofold. Okay, one, I know with this whole kickoff with COVID, I think we started to understanding the importance of supporting one another, right?
Absolutely.
In terms of gentrification, I just feel as if, you know, they do their own things, the Caucasians do their own thing, they support their businesses, but I don't know that they necessarily support minority-owned businesses in the community. And I could be wrong, you know, guys, you're welcome to chime in and educate me. I'm always willing to learn. But this is something that I always keep my eyes and my ears to the ground.
I think it has been changed. I think it's changing.
It's changing.
I mean, you know, we are Caribbean descent, and I see some white folks in roti shops, ordering roti and stuff. It's definitely changing. There is an you know.
Listen. You know, everybody comes for our food, right?
But it's a start.
Commonality, right?
Right.
It's the food.
Yes.
And that's also the next big thing, the next business that a lot of African Americans tend to typically own, right? Restaurants and food establishments and things like that, right? Again, this is something that we're known to do, right?
Absolutely.
Think of, you know, back home in the Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
My aunt, my grandmother, I mean, on the street, everybody came to their house to get food, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, what other businesses you see? I know since COVID took place, I've seen a rise in nail salons.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You saw a rise in nail salons.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Speak about that.
Listen,
Black
my sisters are holding it down. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm like, they are doing nails to the T. So they're giving these Asian people a run for their money, okay? Because all the stuff that took place, you know, when COVID took place, and they were like, oh, China's kicking out the blacks and they don't want the blacks. So my sister stepped their game up.
Yeah, because you know what? I remember that incident back a few months ago where on Flatbush, you know, there was a nail salon, and that was a whole debacle. And that was a really good time where folks came together and they said enough is enough. And so I think that's what is needed within our communities is that collective pursuit and that collective support. So yeah, I can see that. I can
so
dig it.
We definitely need to, you know, circle back. Right, and get refocused on these different business establishments. Again, of course, because this is Black History Month. Right?
Sure. So you know what? Let me ask you about you, because you're an entrepreneur, right? What motivates you? Like being in retrospect to Black History Month, what motivates you to continue to go out there and create your own? Right? You know what?
So I know from a little girl, you know, I lived in a household where it was somewhat of a dichotomy. Okay, my mom worked for healthcare, and my dad was an entrepreneur. So my mom went to work, she wore a uniform, and then I saw my dad, he would get up anytime he wanted to, but he was always sharp. Okay, so I looked at the two of these people, and I'm like, my mom would come home and she would cuss and fuss about her supervisor and requesting time off and wasn't able to get, but I never heard my dad, you know, complain or curse on anything. And then I'm looking at that and I'm like, he's always sharp. I'm like, I didn't really know what he did. All I know was my dad just did his own thing. Right. I was like, listen, whatever it is he's doing, I want to do. But I was never that child to be compliant. You know, I was the black sheep, so I always did my own thing and was in the most trouble or whatever, because I've always had the mindset that I didn't want anybody to control me. Okay, so I think from the time I was 16, I ventured out and I was doing my own thing. I had my own business when I think I was between 16 and 18. I think I started my own business.
What business was that?
I was doing makeup.
Oh, nice.
You know,
okay.
Funny to say, my first entrepreneurial experience was in makeup.
Nice.
And why? It wasn't so much the makeup that had gotten me, it was what the business was actually going to allow me to do.
Got it.
One, I was going to be in control of my own destiny. I was going to work when I wanted to. I was going to be able to still be able to dress, because I love to dress. I love fashion. I love all this kind of stuff. So I didn't want to be in a uniform. And I don't feel, you know, somebody should put a price tag on my worth. You understand? We should be able to set our own standards. Okay. So, you know, in the world we're living in, everybody's not going to be an entrepreneur. That's just it. Yeah, that's just life. You understand? And not too many people are going to aspire to that. Right. But I have never been that type to want to fall into anybody's mold. Okay. Going in, you know, you and I have had conversations before, and we've spoken about different things. I was always that child that was the rebel. You know, you always gotta have one of them, right? Of course. But I've really tamed it down somewhat, right? But I was the rebel. I did not want to fit into anybody's status quo. So whatever it was going to give me an opportunity to make a bunch of money, to still be able to live the life that I wanted to, and not have people controlling my time and telling me what I can't do and can't do. Girl, I can give you stories about myself in corporate America. I was one of these people. Listen, if I wanted to go someplace and I got to know, trust and believe your girlfriend was going to find a way to go. Oh my gosh. Okay. So it has always been in me. So I support entrepreneurs because it's not an easy road. It's not an easy road. It's not an easy road. Okay.
And now more than ever, I feel like there's so much competition in terms of it. I think now more than ever, aside from the competition aspect, they're glamorizing. There's a lot of glamorizing that goes into entrepreneurship. And like you said, it's not an easy road. And it's not for the faint of heart. No. You know? And so for me, you know, I have been doing this for a very long time. When I started, you know, my pursuit of ownership and kind of following, like you said, you know, creating your own path. I did it out of force. You know, I actually was fired from my job. I worked in corporate. I'm true. This is unfiltered, unapologetic. This is real conversation. And you know, listen, my story might be similar to somebody else. You know, but for me, I was forced because I was making tons of money. And then when I did something that I didn't even know was an issue, then I was let go. And so I was left like, man, I don't want to answer to anyone anymore. I want to create my own path. Because what I noticed, in corporate America, especially from a perspective of a woman of color, I think there are two different roads or path that you have to walk. You have to be careful not to be too aggressive, or or not too much of a pushover. So it's that path, because what I did, it was no different to my counterparts. There was no difference. I mean, at that time, you look back now, and it was a blessing. It certainly was a blessing.
I was gonna say, you probably were used as a scapegoat.
Yeah,
Because you
absolutely.
had a lot of things going against you.
Absolutely.
Black female, assertive, is into, getting what she wants, things like that. So you could have been perceived as a threat. So the only way that they were gonna, tone that down was to get rid of you.
That's it. And
that's what they know they did you a favor.
Exactly. But even a road to entrepreneurship is a difficult road. There's many days I don't want to do this anymore. Many days I don't want to work. You don't want to go out there and have to look for clients. And it's just a hustle and bustle.
It's a grind. It's definitely
what keeps you in the game?
Well, the fact that I know my legacy is not completed. Okay, I always feel like you can do more. Right? And I'm one of these people, how people don't like to ask for feedback. I'm always asking for feedback. I learned that from one of my directors when I was in corporate America, and she mentioned there's three things that you always want to ask. What can I keep? What was good? What didn't work so good? And what can I change?
Right.
So if you just answer those simple questions and you get feedback from that, you can actually move forward. But the fact that I know I'm on my road to financial independence because I'm not there yet. I know I still need to pursue. I know my legacy has not been fulfilled as yet. So it keeps me going. You can't sit back and hope, wish, and pray somebody else is going to do it for you. Like you, there's some days I get up and I just don't want to do it, right? And I've heard somebody say, listen, you can make a ton of excuses, right? Because it's going to be too hot in the summertime. It's going to be too cold in the wintertime. It's going to be too rainy in the springtime, So we're always going to have some kind of excuse. So that's why you have to find, your niche. Find your niche and add your why to that niche, okay? Because your why is going to force you to get up and go. It's going to force you to get up and do. If your why is not big enough and it's not making you cry, then you'd be like, listen, okay, well, I didn't get it done today. I'll do it tomorrow. So you'll tend to make excuses. But, you definitely have to be in something that is going to give you that push.
Right, that push.
Okay? Because what do they talk about? If you find something that you like, it never feels that you worked a day in your life.
It's true.
Right?
It's true.
So, for me, I love money. I shouldn't say it
I
like that. I love what money can do.
Right.
It definitely opens options. And everything happens for a reason. Did I set out to actually, be in the industries that I'm in? No. I'm in real estate because my husband and I were looking to purchase a home and was just feeling as though we were getting, put through the ringer. Okay. Getting into finance. Well, because I was in real estate and I realized that, people was like, oh yeah, real estate, you make some big money, yada, yada, yada. And that's true. You can't depend on real estate is so vast. I mean, there's different pockets that you can actually get into. But as an agent, we don't make a whole lot of money. This is not like Beverly Hills and whatnot. And you're selling $1 million mansions or getting $1 million listings and things like that. So it's a difference. So when I, thought about finances and being able to help my clients and transition them, into, getting their finances, their credit scores, save it, invest in things like that, and then be able to still get them properties and things like that, I was like, this is a win-win situation. Marriage made it happen. Okay? You're into consulting and event planning and things like that. What propelled you to get into that? Because again, take a look at COVID. How many events are being planned? What does that look like? How has this affected you and going forward?
So I'm so happy you asked, because yes, many of you guys don't know, but I'm a professional event planner. And yes, in our industry, we have been hit hardest when it comes to live events and concerts and so forth. The good thing about my business and the good thing about being a sole entrepreneur is that you are able to truly pivot. And this 2020 has taught all of us, but more so small business owners, how to effectively pivot. But what got me in the start of event planning is similar to you. You know, my why was, what can I create? What can I create legacy-wise, or what can I create to make an impact? So I wasn't really thinking about long term. I was thinking about, you know what, I want to make a difference in my community. I want to plan events that are empowering. I want to plan community-driven events, not for nonprofits, but for a profit. But how can I market this event planning skill set that I have, this organizing, you know, bringing people together, partnership? How can I market all of that and make it profitable? So that has always been my end goal when it comes to event planning. So what brought me into the world of event planning was trying to be a solution. So I remember the first event I planned was a community initiative. It was 2015. It was a huge initiative in Brooklyn. It was basically bridging the gap between church and community. So it was a response to the violence that was taking place in our community, and that kind of propelled me into planning different events and organizing. In terms of today, 2021, COVID has taught all of us how to pivot, and so a lot of my events have gone online, and I'm able to pivot because it's me. I have a small team, but I'm able to be innovative and integrate. Now we integrate in technology, you know. So I think as we're talking about Black-owned businesses, and we're talking about some of the issues that affect us, growth, technology, equity, those are some of the issues that really affect us, but we have to collectively come together to solve some of those issues. So I know for you and I, we were able to kind of like feed off of each other. We were able to say, you know what, you're good in financial services, I'm in good with event planning, let's do something together, let's build a community. And so I think that's key.
Yeah,
you know,
I definitely feel it's key. You definitely want to bridge the gap and be able to refer and support.
Yes.
You understand each other, because when you, in the grand scheme of things, everything has a connector.
Absolutely.
Okay, and we got to be able to connect businesses and resources.
Because that's what Black Wall Street did.
You understand? Yeah.
You know, that's what Black Wall Street. That's what built up Black Wall Street. If we really want to go back to history, you know, that's what they did. I mean, you know, we had clusters of we were self-made. We were a community of self-made individuals, and I think it's far too long. We need to go back to that.
I think we're working on it, and like you mentioned, I think COVID has definitely awakened us to the need, the dire need, I should say, in terms of us being able to use each other as a resource. Okay, fit and connect businesses and resources.
A barter system. I like when you speak about that. A barter system. No, you don't have to be the C. You don't have to be the camera guy, the video. You don't have, you know, the editor. No, you gotta have a barter system. And we got to know how to strategically support each other.
You know, going back to this Black Wall Street stuff. When you have access to people who can give you loans and not want to capitalize on the fact that they can charge, you know, 15, 18, 20% interest, okay? You're giving other small business owners an opportunity to engage in the marketplace, okay? And you want to be able to do that, because as we're getting older and we're looking, you know, to kind of make our way to retirement, you want to be able to give an open forum or an open door to new generations coming in, right? Learn the business, learn what it is we do, see how you can actually expand on the idea. Because once you have the foundation for something, I mean, you can branch out into a whole lot of different things, right? You definitely have to have an open mind. But sometimes we're too close-minded. Okay, well, I'm a restaurant owner, and I'm strictly just going to worry about food. But what about that whole customer experience as it relates to food? We're in a salon. As it relates to hair, nails, makeup. You understand? How can we encompass all of that under one umbrella? Okay? So that's the key. Don, I wish my brother was here to kind of get a perspective from him.
Well, you know what? I'm happy that you mentioned that, because when you think about it, this is exactly what we are talking about. You have a show such as our podcast, and you call your brother who has a establishment, and we're able to barter off each other. And so we have to do that, not necessarily where we know the person or where we might be related, but we have to look at each other as a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
We have to look at
And
each other as a bridge.
I didn't even look at it in terms of, well, it's my brother. I looked at it as it was a business.
Exactly.
You understand?
That's exactly.
This was just bringing notoriety to a place that possibly would not have gotten that sort of,
Yeah. And this
marketing.
is grassroots. This is grassroots marketing.
Mm-hmm.
This is not paid for. This is grassroots marketing. Similar to this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We sat one evening and we said we want to do something for ourselves, for our community. We want to be the voice for the grassroots on a micro level. And I think we're doing phenomenal. And I think we're an example of truly what it takes to be self-sufficient.
Right.
We can no longer rely on others to come rescue us.
No.
This is our time where we have to make things happen for ourselves.
Listen,
where we have to own our own media.
Right.
Where we have to own our own hospitals.
Yes.
This is real, you guys.
Yes.
More ownership.
Because we need to, set it where we're putting out our images.
Absolutely, our own content, speaking our own narrative.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that's going on under the surface that's happening, and people are making rules and laws on us and based on us and based on our bodies as women as well. So we have to start to own. We have to take back, the stake and start to own more things. But listen, you guys, we want to thank you so much for tuning into this episode. This episode is really about grassroots. Roxanne and I just chopping it up and really having a conversation on Black-owned businesses. We want to hear from you.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? What are some of your business that you guys would like to create in 2021? Definitely.
Let's look at ways in which we can possibly, get some youngsters under our wing.
Yes.
Right. Let's
mentorship.
Mentorship. Let's engage our people, to become of that mindset. We can't strictly stay in a consumer mindset.
We can't.
We need to expand. We need to grow. We need to be able to, transition and what do you call it? Leave a legacy.
Yes.
You understand? Somebody has to pick up the baton and run with it.
Yes.
Right? And before we close out, listen, I would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge the fact that we have our first African American, Asian, Caribbean vice president in the office.
Absolutely.
Right? So kudos to her on her attainment of that that awesome goal and achievement. I know she made her family very proud. So just wanted to give that to her on the heels of it being Black History Month, and
we salute Kamala Harris. We salute trailblazers such as her. She's opening many doors for women of color, and just continuing to propel that Black excellence at its truest level.
Yes, absolutely. No ratchetness.
No ratchetness, honey. No ratchetness.
No skeletons or anything, right?
All right, no.
Just of a clean, good-hearted nature, wanting to come into.
She's an example of. I was looking at her background, not to cut you off. She's an example of hard work and consistency.
Yes.
I was reading up on her background and just consistency, and it made me think for myself as we speak about entrepreneurship that the road is not always easy.
Right.
But if you're consistent and true to yourself, and that
fact.
true to yourself comes from your upbringing as well.
Yeah.
True to yourself,
Being
you can
grounded,
reach.
grounded,
Rooted, that foundation, rooted.
Grounded and rooted in your core beliefs.
Yes.
And family and support, things like that will definitely keep you on that path.
Absolutely.
So, guys, I hope you took away some information from here and begin to pivot, right? You're thinking from consumerism to actually equity, ownership, and wealth building, generational wealth wealth creation. Okay, starts from the bottom. Figure out what you have a desire to do, and let's pursue it. Let's lock arms with each other and take this thing to the next level. So, guys, it has been an awesome pleasure.
Yes.
Coming to you today live from M3 Salon in Brooklyn, New York. Right, so continue to like, share, leave a comment, and definitely subscribe. Not certain if my girl has any giveaways this weekend.
We won't keep you on the toes for that one.
Right.
Let us know what you thought about this episode. You know, this is a powerful episode. We didn't want to water it down, but we really want to continue this conversation of Black ownership, but not only because it's Black History Month, but we want to continue bringing professionals, bringing speakers from our community that's doing amazing things. You know, so we definitely want to continue this conversation and create different synergies as well. So thank you so much for tuning in to Chop It Up with R&K. We love you guys. Listen, y'all already know. Stay locked in.
Stay locked in.